It's go time. The Supreme Court said two things in Trump's favor. One, these judges in D.C. do not have jurisdiction over a case in Texas or anywhere else. And two, the deportation flights may resume. The administration does have to provide a hearing, but that's easy. There are hundreds of immigration judges in this country, and they're the ones who should be doing these hearings in the first place, not some carefully shopped judge in some Democrat's backyard.
Last night, the Supreme Court delivered a massive legal victory to the Trump administration and allowed us to continue removing foreign terrorist invaders under the Alien Enemies Act. This was a smackdown to a rogue left-wing, low-level district court judge who have relentlessly tried to stop President Trump from using his core constitutional powers as head of the executive branch and as commander-in-chief.
Boom. And Amy Coney Barrett, though, she sided with the libs in this. I don't understand what happened to her. She was supposed to be this conservative shining light. She voted to overturn Roe v. Wade, and then outside of that, she's been a real waffle. She had concerns about Trump using a wartime act, a procedural distaste, without enough time, what she said was to properly consider the motion. Okay. But thanks to the other five, the president can now do what the Constitution allows him to do, the things that he knew he had the authority to do, but one district judge stopped him from doing. And I want to point out how abundantly ridiculous this is. It takes 5 Supreme Court justices to reverse, to halt, or whatever a sitting president's actions. The 9 Supreme Court justices altogether comprise an equal branch of government to the President of the United States. Congress is the third branch, like all 535 of them. 3 bodies. The president, the Supreme Court, and the entire body of Congress are all equal. Yet somehow one of the 677 piddly little federal judges have been allowed to stop the president's actions on a multitude of issues dead in its tracks. Yes, this is ridiculous as it sounds. Essentially, for a president to be able to president, he would need unanimous consent from all 677 federal judges that nobody elected. That's awful ridiculous. And you would think the party that has been saying, yeah, we need to save democracy for the last 10 years would understand that. But no, they're all in for it. Thank God Mike Johnson came out today and is finally proposing legislation to stop this perversion of lawfare and meandering of the Constitution.
We do applaud the ruling for the Supreme Court. The most important principle that came out of that is that they said that you can't go venue shopping for this. They're going to return that back to the court in Texas where it belonged, and I think that's a very important step. The reason that we're passing the No Rogue Rulings Act this week is because we're concerned about this, what really is a constitutional crisis. And you've heard the stats, but I think it's 62% or 64% of all the injunctions, national injunctions that are issued against a president or against Donald J. Trump over the last several decades, and 90% of those or something were issued by judges that were appointed to the federal bench by Democrat presidents.
Okay, let's go. Now you're earning your paycheck, Mike. This is the way. I don't know why we needed a law for this, but here we are in 2025 with a modern Democrat Party that throws temper tantrums over literally everything. Look, call me petty, call me whatever you want. I really don't care at this point. But I think Mike Johnson's next agenda after passing it this week should be removing some of these judges because they clearly don't abide by the laws themselves. Because otherwise, we're going to find ourselves, if they don't have real consequences here, we are going to find ourselves in a very serious predicament again. I mean, what are we going to do when another one of these 677 judges stops a presidential action? Are we going to have to go all the way back up to have the Supreme Court weigh in every single time? I mean, hell, if that's the case, why don't they just have Mike Johnson put up a bill that says the only place that can stop a president on anything is the Supreme Court, locally or federally, whatever. Like, let's not just solve whatever the left is doing right now. Let's solve whatever they might do in the future. So we don't have to keep having the same speed bump in the same road that Donald Trump is making to efficiency. But we don't do that, I guess. Like, they're just purely reactionary. This is the Republican problem these days. I don't know. Like, maybe I shouldn't be that mad about it. At least Trump has found another way forward, at least with the immigration stuff. Did you know there was a little law passed under Bill Clinton in 1996 called the Illegal Immigration Reform Immigrant Responsibility Act? Yes, they used immigration and immigrant in the same title. But that allows the president to add financial penalties. It also says that if immigrants commit misdemeanors, they can be deported immediately, along with felonies, obviously. But it also states if an illegal immigrant is, quote, unlawfully present in the U.S. for 180 days to 365 days, they must remain outside of the United States for 3 years unless pardoned. If they remain in the United States for 365 days or more, they must stay outside the United States for 10 years. That, obviously, a pardon could change that, but they don't got those. Lastly, this may be the best part of this. It allows for Trump, and he's preparing to do this, a $998 per day fine for every single day that an illegal immigrant spends in our country after a deportation order is issued. And if they don't pay it, Uncle Sam can seize their assets. It can also be applied retroactively up to 5 years back, which could add over $1 million in fines. Like, holy deterrent, Batman. Because currently, there really isn't a deterrent. A lot of these people who come into this country, they're like handed a piece of paper with a hearing, like, I don't know, 2 to 3 years in advance. They obviously either forget or don't care. But either way, most of them don't show up for these things, in which case the judge usually issues a deportation order because they weren't there to defend themselves. Most of these people either don't know, don't care, don't need to know until yesterday, there were no consequences. Well, now there's consequences. All right. You can't live your whole life here in America in the shadows. Everyone has some sort of asset, and everyone has some sort of digital footprint. So it's not going to be hard to find these people. We just previously lacked the political will to do so. And the Democrat Party's leading spokesman, Jasmine Crockett, right now, she's the one who spends the most time on TV. Her only talking point on this was to go back to cotton picking?
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
This is a U.S. Congresswoman. Okay, like, I'm not even sure anything she said just applies here. And you want to educate immigrants? Educate them all you want. It doesn't matter if they still broke the law. Maybe you should educate them on what the law is and to not come here illegally in the first place. Like, what are you talking about? Yes, we are a nation of immigrants. Legal immigrants, many of which came through Ellis Island the legal way. It's so staggering to me that somebody who is responsible for voting on our laws knows so little about our laws. This is all we heard for 4 years under Biden. The random, nonsensical arguments, like meanderings of a drunk person for mass unaccountable migration. Ironic, from the same party that forced us to prove that every citizen had health insurance, but didn't force every person to prove that they were a citizen. And the ones that weren't citizens, that couldn't prove it, got free health care anyway. Like, if you're a Democrat, I ask you, why? Your guy, the last guy in office, hired 80,000 IRS agents to audit you and I for transactions over $600. Now Trump has hired one guy that, by the way, works for free to audit the federal government to make sure that they're doing everything above board. And there's protests in the street, paid protests. You see how different these parties are? One is actually looking out for you and I, trying to stop the federal and local governments from spending billions of your taxpayer money on people who shouldn't be here because it hurts the services that your taxes are supposed to go to for you. This is not a complex issue. Come here legally or get out. The only people against this are either illegal immigrants or limousine liberals, like the ones in Martha's Vineyard, by the way, that once all the migrants were flown in by Ron DeSantis, they deported them immediately with the National Guard. Right. Like, normal is finally back. We're a country of laws, and if the libs didn't like those laws, they should have changed them when they had all the branches of government 2 years ago. But they didn't.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.